gonna cut the music. We ain't got time. This is a code red right now. That's what this is. This is a code red in the NBA. We don't got time for no intro. We don't got time for nothing else except for what in the world is going on with the Brooklyn Nets. Leave a like, comment on the video, whatever your thoughts on this whole situation as the video goes on, or just your own opinions. Follow, please, and subscribe to the channel. Oh my goodness. We, again, forget superlatives, forget anything. Kevin Durant has just asked for a trade from the Brooklyn Nets in a blockbuster move right now. Everybody is shook. I'm shook. I had a whole plan yesterday for what I wanted to do for a show. I was getting ready to go on one of my favorite sports, boxing, and talk about Bud Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr., how I thought that was going to turn out in the build-up, as well as Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua, what that means for the heavyweight division, depending on the turnout of that championship fight for again, not undisputed, but for the majority of the belts in the heavyweight division. But this just fell in my lap, and now I'm shook. I don't know what to think. I was sweating bullets. We got air conditioning in the house, and I'm still sweating like it's 95 degrees because I am perplexed. I'm oh my gosh. Look, for everything that has been going on, no move in the NBA is as substantial as this right here. People are on hold. People are on pins and needles trying to figure out where in the world is Kevin Durant going to go, as well as where in the world is Kyrie Irving going to go. This is, the Brooklyn Nets are there. Oh gosh. I can't even, okay. Okay. I've had a day to sit on this, and I still am in fits. One of the biggest stars of this generation, top 5 player in the NBA, who just signed a 4-year max contract, is asking for a trade. Whatever organization gets him is going to get the rest of Kevin Durant's prime. Guaranteed. They're getting his prime. Guaranteed. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They are going to get the best years of Kevin Durant. And anything after that is probably going to be on the downhill. So his last opportunity for him to play at his best, at his highest of caliber, and arguably his best shot at winning a championship with his innate talent still intact, without it diminishing, is right here, right now. And we don't know where he's going to, well, actually, let me rephrase it. In fact, let's just jump into it right now. Where in the world is he going to go? He's put out his own options. He wants to go to Phoenix. He wants to go to Miami. Other teams that can be in the mix. You got Boston. You got Toronto. You got OKC. But which one is actually viable? Let's jump into it right now. The main thing, who's got the most leverage in this situation are 2 teams. Actually, 3 teams. For my estimation, which is where he can actually go. He can either go to Boston. Number 1, he can go to Boston. Here's why. Boston right now just got off of a championship run. Best defense in the NBA. One of the best offenses for the regular season. Not nearly, excuse me, let me rephrase that. Got to the finals and gave Golden State 2 games. Blew them out in game 1. They have an incredibly great coach, a phenomenal culture. They got pieces, and that's the main thing. They have pieces. They can trade if they want to get them. Now, understand this. I'm not speaking from Kevin Durant's perspective. We know where he wants to go. We know exactly where he wants to go. And I'm going to address exactly which one's the best out of the 2 that he wants to go. I'm going to address that in the show. But let's get it out the way right now. what is going to happen is that the Nets are not going to take a deal that is not going to benefit them. Because, again, it's not just KD that wants to go. Kyrie is also out. He's gone. Brian Windhorst on ESPN was saying, it was either him or Woj, one of the two. They were saying that Kevin Durant, one of them were saying, Kevin Durant and Kyrie still want to play together. They just don't want to be in Brooklyn. So if they can have a package deal, that would be the best of both worlds for KD and Kyrie. That's what they really want. So even though Kyrie and KD both signed, both of them want out. That's what I'm getting from what I can gather. It's a definite that KD wants out, and it's also, I believe, a definite Kyrie wants out as well. He was already looking for, again, sign and trade. We talked about this 2 days ago or on the last episode. The sign and trade, he wants out of Brooklyn. Now KD, right after Kyrie signs back to Brooklyn on a player option for $37 million because he couldn't find anybody else to go and pick him up. Again, no team interest on Kyrie outside of LA. No team interest. Tried to use leverage, didn't get it, had to go back to Brooklyn. Now Kevin Durant wants out as well. The ship is sinking in Brooklyn. They went from the highest of highs to the uttermost lows, and the worst situation has transpired. But what did I say? What did I say? The Nets would blow it up in a heartbeat. They didn't fight KD. They didn't try to sway him to come back. What did they say? KD went directly to the front office, directly to the GM, and said, I want to trade. Directly. Wasn't no hearsay. He went directly to him. That's what Welch said. He went directly to the president. He said, CEO, excuse me, directly to the CEO of the Nets and said, I want to trade. He went straight to the top and said, I want out. And they didn't fight him. They didn't try to sway him to come back. They didn't say, we're building da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They didn't try to say this or that. They said, okay, you want out? All right, we're going to get you out. Finger on the trigger. What did I say? Finger on the trigger. At a moment's notice, they would get him out if necessary. They weren't afraid to blow it up with everybody inside. With everybody inside. Everybody inside. They were just saying, give me a reason. Give me a reason. And we'll look for it. Just give me a reason. I'll blow it up right now. That's exactly what they're doing. Without hesitation. The second KD said he wants to trade, boom, we out. Who you want? We'll make the best decision for ourselves, but we'll blow it up. We will blow it up in a heartbeat. We'll blow it up in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Without question, in a heartbeat. That's what's going on right now. Now, again, I was expecting this to be a situation where they were going to blow it up at the end of next season, or at worst, during mid-season. Because I thought Kyrie Irving was going to cause more drama, and then KD was finally going to say, okay, enough's enough, I'm out. I thought that was going to be the case. But no. Now we got a situation, before anything goes up, Kevin Durant says, I'm not dealing with this. At least not here. I need a complete reset. Would he like to play with Kyrie? Yes. Is it the best thing for him? Absolutely not. Because you have to understand, the same talent comes with the same consequences. That's the thing with Kyrie Irving. He's a double-edged sword, as much as I love him. He's a double-edged sword at this stage in his career because of the actions that he has shown that he's capable of. He's a double-edged sword. You get 27, 5, and 5 with 50, 40, 90 splits. You get the all-NBA talent. You get the incredible skill and adaptability. But at the same time, what do you also get? He may not play. for one reason or another, not just because of COVID, of his own accord. That's the key. Of his own accord, he could cause trouble and say, I'm not with this whole situation. If it was just COVID, like I said last episode, hey, a bunch of players don't want to take it. A bunch of players have taken the shot. A bunch of players don't want to take the shot. I'm not here to disparage and harp on is somebody right or wrong in their opinion of doing it. That's not what this channel's about. We ain't here to throw moral judgment. That's not what we do. I got my beliefs, he has his. I'll state what my beliefs are, but that's not what he agrees to. We just got to agree to disagree. Cool. That's how life goes. I think people should take the shot. He doesn't think people should be forced to take the shot. Okay. Outside of that, however, it's when problems arise, like I said last episode, and if you're not going to play of your own volition, that's when stuff isn't right. That's when now I have a problem. That's when stuff goes beyond just the rules of the NBA. Now it's you not wanting to do what you are obligated to do under your responsibility. Hence why you're not given the freedom that you're expected to get. That's why you're not able to get the whole no leash on me type of treatment from the Brooklyn Nets nor any organization that you're going to. And you're causing headaches for the entire organization that you're with right now. Hence why Kyrie Irving says, I'm out. Now they're going to leave Ben Simmons high and dry because nobody wants that brother at all. At all until he proves he can do something on the basketball floor. But sticking with Kyrie and KD, if they want to play together, they got to understand it's going to be incredibly hard in terms of what they're going to get due to Kyrie being an X factor, but for all the wrong reasons. He's a variable that teams don't want to potentially have to deal with. So now, going back to the initial thing that I came into with, Kevin Durant initially asked for a trade. Yes, reports say they want to play together, but let's say that doesn't happen. Most likely that's not going to happen. So if they trade Kevin Durant, stand alone, he wants to go to Phoenix and he wants to go to Miami. Before I touch on those two, back to what I said at the start of the show, let's talk about Boston. Boston's a legitimate, viable option. Like I said before, they won a championship, best defense in the NBA, one of the best offenses, one of the best coaches, have everything going for them. And they have pieces. They can trade. They could trade. They could trade Jaylen Brown or shoot. Based on the last performance of the finals, they could potentially trade Jason Tatum. For a talent like Kevin Durant, it's not out the question. It's not. Because Kevin Durant is not going to fold like we saw Jason Tatum do. And you got track record to show it. And the Celtics are built to win the championship right now. Right now. They may not want to wait. They got again, if they do go through with that trade, they got the last 4 years of KD's prime. They can win a championship with what they got right now. They just signed Malcolm Brogdon. And also, for those viewing me on YouTube, watching the video, you can also listen to it. Again, this is a podcast. You can also listen to this thing in your pocket, on your phone, or whatever. But if you're watching it and you see my eyes dart to the computer, I got Twitter up right now, just waiting and refreshing consistently for another update, because I don't know what may happen within this episode. I was going to try to do the episode last time with this whole free agency thing, and then boom, all this transpired. And I was like, I can't do a show. I can't do a show. I couldn't, because stuff was just coming out too quickly. So, but again, if you see my eyes darting to the screen, I'm refreshing every chance I get to see what new updates come through. Because Lord knows I don't know what may happen. But again, just recently, right before I started this whole show, Malcolm Brogdon just got traded to Boston. Or rather, Boston just acquired Malcolm Brogdon from the Pacers with Marcus Smart. Now they got the one thing that we talked about a couple episodes ago on our collaboration with the Got Next podcast and Mitchell Baldwin and Dono. They now have a true point. I wish it was De'Aaron Fox, but hey, that's just me. But they now got a point guard, more reliable shooter, better offensive option, better playmaker than Marcus Smart, while still having Marcus Smart on the roster. They're built to win now. They're built to win now. If they traded if they traded Jaylen Brown, because they want to keep Jason Tatum and KD together, if they can. If they trade Jaylen Brown, they got enough pieces to be able to still be great. Just don't touch Robert Williams. If you can ideally keep Robert Williams, Al Horford, Jason Tatum, and trade, if you have to, trade Marcus Smart, Nets get defense, and which they desperately need. Desperately need. And since it looks like Ben Simmons is going to be high and dry, you can run Marcus Smart and Ben Simmons and potentially have the best defensive backcourt in the NBA. That's a solid place to rebuild your franchise. Or rather, the Nets don't want to rebuild. Excuse me, let me take that back. The Nets don't want to rebuild. That's a solid place to retool your NBA pool of talent that you have on the roster. Solid. Incredibly solid. Say what you want about Ben Simmons. He's still an all-NBA defender. He's still one of the most versatile defenders in the league. You couple that with Marcus Smart. Now, all you got to do is just make sure you fill out the roster with requisite pieces like Seth Curry, like Joe Harris, who they have, and continue to, throughout free agency, get those acquisitions to fit Ben Simmons in the immediate. Now, you got a great building block to quickly get back to a legitimate, respectable standing. At least in my estimation. And again, if the Boston wants to do it right now, this is their best time. Because remember, Marcus Smart just won Defensive Player of the Year. His stock in the NBA will never be higher again than it was this season. Or than it is this season. His stock in the NBA will never be higher again. Never be higher again. Never. It'll never be higher again. This is your prime opportunity to say, we can trade him with pieces, and if we can work it right, and keep everybody else, boom. Now we got ourselves one of the best players in the NBA, one of the best players in NBA history, the best scorer, and potentially one of the best, if not the best, offensive duos the NBA has to offer. 2 6'10" and 7-foot behemoths running the 3 and the 4, guaranteeing that you have to either double or help, opening up the already unlocked potential of Jason Tatum's playmaking ability due to now him having not only more space on the floor, but with the way the defense will have to commit to both him and KD, opens up a bunch of options for him to be able to even more so playmake like he did in the finals. Which was, again, for everything I said about his performance in the NBA Finals, an incredible skill that he showed against a very good defensively sound switching team in Golden State. Yes, they have the deficiencies, but again, that culture and that mentality of how to defend is still ingrained from Steve Kerr and Draymond Green. And he did a phenomenal job of finding people, something that I didn't think he was going to be able to do. Now you throw Kevin Durant into that mix. Oh my gosh. You want to talk about you want to talk about playmaking that he can potentially do without the defense will have to adjust. It would be phenomenal. That would be an incredible place for Kevin Durant to go because Kevin Durant wants to win now. But let's go to the main two people that he wants to go to, Phoenix and Miami. Should he go to Miami? Can he go to Miami? If he goes to Miami, what are the Nets going to be able to pick up in return? Well, they want Duncan Robinson. They would have wanted Duncan Robinson. They would have wanted Tyler Hero. They're probably going to ask for Bam Adebayo as well. One of those three, or at minimum, two of those three are going to be ultimately asked for. Because the goal is to play alongside Jimmy Butler. That's what Kevin Durant wants to do. I believe reports even say that's what he wants to do if he went to Miami. So he wants to play with Jimmy Butler. Understandably so. Especially come playoff time. Oh, that would be an incredible tandem to see. So Bam's gone. Outside of Bam Adebayo, who else is applicable for the Nets to be able to acquire that's worth the talent of Kevin Durant? Would it be Duncan Robinson? No. You know why? This last season was abysmal. Horrible. Didn't even get time in the playoffs. Got his minutes diminished. And again, Max Strauss, whatever his name is, stepped up and became the number 2 option for the Miami Heat during that Boston Celtics series and throughout a good chunk of the playoffs. Duncan Robinson let that happen. He did not show up. At 6'7", supposedly was supposed to be one of the most lethal shooters in the NBA. Now he was shooting under 30% in the playoffs. Horrible. Yeah, for the regular season as well. Got sent down in there as well. So is he worth picking up for Kevin Durant? No. Is him and Tyler Hero worth picking up? Well, Tyler Hero had a down year right after getting 6th man of the year. Now it's a situation where once have we seen him hit his stride, or not hit his stride, hit his ceiling. And even worse than that, if his ceiling is 6th man of the year, averaging nearly 20 off the bench, that's great. But the flip side of that is, has the NBA figured out how to guard you? Because now if the NBA has figured out how to guard you and you can adapt and continue that productivity of staying at your ceiling, now what are you? Now you're a player that's just there for the potential instead of being able to follow through. And we've seen that happen in the NBA before. Players get figured out and then they never hit their peak. Now is that what you're getting with Tyler Hero? You're getting ifs with Tyler Hero. If this was a couple seasons ago, right after the Miami Heat lost in the NBA Finals, okay, hey, now I'll be okay with that. But this was supposed to be the prime Tyler Hero, the best version of Tyler Hero. And it was horrible. Now again, should I hold it against him for one bad year? No. But I'm not looking at it from my perspective. You have to look at it from the Nets' perspective. Because everything is on the Nets. Understand this, the Nets could not even trade KD if they don't want to. They'll blow it up at a moment's notice, absolutely. But at the same time, I got to get what's worth me taking this big risk and me making this big of a move. This is, again, a top 5 player, MVP caliber player, MVP conversation player, 30 points per game player. The most unstoppable scorer we have right now in the NBA. And I'll stand by that. Arguably the best scorer the NBA has ever seen, outside of Michael Jordan, Wilt Chamberlain, George Gervin. And you have to throw LeBron James' name in there as well, because he's getting ready to break Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record. And that's where you got to put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's name in that caliber of greatest scorers the NBA has ever seen. You have to. You have to. Kobe Bryant, Dominique Wilkins, all these players. Kevin Durant is in the conversation. And outside of maybe two, maybe one, he towers them all in terms of ability to score. In terms of just, I can do whatever I want. Whether you got Kareem as the best scorer, Jordan as the best scorer, LeBron is the best scorer, whoever, Kobe, it doesn't matter. Tracy McGrady, whoever you have. Kevin Durant, at this stage in his career, towers over nearly all of them. Towers over nearly all of them. He's top 5 and he ain't 5 in terms of scoring ability. Top 5 and he isn't 5. Top 3 and he ain't 3. That's that's what you're giving up in Brooklyn Nets. And Miami does not have the pieces to be able to acquire that level of talent. Because if they still want to keep everything that they have and still be able to say we can make a big run at the finals, well, you can't give up Kyle Lowry. You can't give up Jimmy Butler. Because you need a point guard, a facilitator, and you need Jimmy Butler because he's Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo, you can get rid of. He's worthy of being tradable. He's an asset if I was Brooklyn, I would want. At the same time, do I want Duncan Robinson? Right now, I would say no. Do I want Tyler Hero? Right now, I would say no. The amalgamation of them two still wouldn't be enough along with Bam. Now, you throw Victor Oladipo into that mix. Now we got a conversation. That could be something. Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and Victor Oladipo potentially along with the pick if they want to do that, or a couple. Is it a major chunk of your depth? Yes. However, you get to keep Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, and KD, and people still want to come to Miami. You can still get people in free agency. People will come to Miami just because it's Miami. Let alone now that you got KD and Jimmy teaming up together. People who are making their decision in free agency will be more than happy to change their mind and potentially take less money for a shot at a title. People will do it. People will do it. And they got him for 4 years. If not this season, next season. They'll have everything and more. A better roster than they had before. If not this season, next season. Come next free agency, if Kevin Durant got traded to Miami. You want to talk about a juggernaut? Then I would have Miami as favorites to win the NBA Finals and come out the East. If that happened, I'd have them over the Bucks, and I love the Bucks. I still got the Bucks as my favorite to win the championship next season. Just to be honest. But if Giannis, I don't know if he can't overcome that. Even with as great of an organization as Milwaukee is, he can't overcome. He can't overcome Miami with Jimmy Butler and Kevin Durant. He can't do that. No, he can't. At least all of a sudden averages 35 and 20, turns into the modern day Wilt Chamberlain. He can't overcome those two. Because the rest of the roster will then have the ability, if Miami does it right and get the requisite pieces, if not this season, next season, if they get Kevin Durant, they'll have a better roster with similar amount of depth and a better starting caliber of talent with the same defensive mentality and the same dog mentality that Miami is known for. That's scary. And that's viable. But that's if Miami gives up everybody. Hero, Robinson, Bam, Oladipo, and potentially a couple picks. Because just Robinson, Hero, and Bam are not enough. They're not enough. They are not enough. They're not enough. It's possible, but they would have to give up a lot. But now let's go to the biggest elephant in the room. Phoenix. He wants to go to Phoenix. Here's what I need to say about Phoenix. Phoenix just paid Devin Booker $224 million for a max contract. Kevin Durant wants to play with Devin Booker and play with what they got in Phoenix. DeAndre Ayton is looking, well, no, he hasn't, I believe, if I'm correct, moves haven't been made on DeAndre Ayton yet. I believe moves have not been made on DeAndre Ayton. So right now, he could get traded. Should you trade him? Should you keep him? He's a factor, but he's not the biggest factor. Here's why I don't want Kevin Durant to go to Phoenix. Because you'll be giving up Chris Paul. Here's the problem that I have with Devin Booker getting that max and Kevin Durant wanting to play with him instead of playing with Chris Paul. Because let's face the reality. First off, let's set up the situation. Chris Paul's gone. If Kevin Durant gets traded to Phoenix. Chris Paul's gone. Cam Johnson's gone. Maybe potentially Malik Bridges is gone as well. Or it's Chris Paul, Ayton, and Malik Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, or even any combination of those two last couple names. Now, they still got depth. Could also be Cameron Payne. Still got depth. Still got great coaching. Phenomenal coaching, actually. But again, if they want to get KD, most likely Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, or both, along with at least one or two other young players, or one young player and a bunch of draft picks, at least three, are gone if you want KD. And maybe KD and some, KD and Seth Curry. Because the Suns are still going to want at least somebody. At least somebody else to counteract the amount of depth that they lost. Because they're going to lose some depth. They got it to lose, but they're going to lose it. But I don't want KD playing with Devin Booker. Reason being is because, and I said this, if you go back to Mitchell Baldwin's and Dono's podcast, Got Next podcast, I was on an episode with them called Out of Bounds. Game show X type of show. Very fun. Watch it. I said that Devin Booker is a great number two. And that's when he would win a championship. Now, would he be a number two if Kevin Durant came? Absolutely so. No doubt about it. Fitting right into his role, which would be great. However, with that being said, some of Kevin Durant's best years have come when you have a great playmaker at the helm, allowing him to do just ISO and just be KD. Yes, he's an underrated playmaker. Yes, he can run the floor if asked to do. That's not his main skill set. However, if Chris Paul got traded, you would not get, how would I say, in my estimation, potentially the maximum amount out of KD. As just now, I can only focus on being a defensive anchor when I'm called upon, like he was in Golden State, because he was averaging at one point in time 2 blocks a game and was their best defensive player. Yes, he was. Even over Draymond Green, he was their best defensive player. Asked to be a legitimate defensive option on top of being the best scorer. You saw, again, one of the most unstoppable teams in NBA history. I would argue the greatest team in NBA history ever put together when Kevin Durant went to Golden State. But what was that under? You got to see that level of fluidity under a phenomenal point guard, facilitator, or somebody outside of Kevin Durant making the decisions and orchestrating the offense, whether it was Draymond Green or Steph Curry. Now, if you trade Chris Paul, you got to rely on KD being the playmaker. I love Cameron Payne if they keep Cameron Payne. He's not that type of guy that I would want with that level of keys. Can he start? Sure. Would him starting be the best option? No. Because he's, again, an offensive-centric player whose best attribute is being able to put the ball in the hole with floaters, with changes in speed, and essentially getting the defense to jump and going under him, being shifty. But again, not looking for people to pass you, or not getting the defense to collapse, to kick out, or looking for the open man, for him to get a bucket himself. That's where Cameron Payne shines. So now you got KD, Devin Booker, Cameron Payne, all having to essentially, somebody's got to take the role of facilitator. I don't want Devin Booker doing that. I don't want Cameron Payne to do that. Best option would be KD. But at the same time, I don't want him doing that either. You got to have somebody that's able to give KD and KD and Devin Booker the ball. And if you trade Chris Paul, which they're going to have to do now that they just signed Booker to this max. Yes, Chris Paul is older. Sure. He's still, however, one of the best playmaking players in the NBA, if not in NBA history. Constantly averaging 8 to 9 assists. Has an incredibly low turnover ratio. Is still a great defender. Is still a phenomenal leader. And is a guy that outside of the Phoenix series, this last playoffs, when they got blown out by Dallas, outside of that, he's been one of the most consistent playoff performers the NBA has seen. Outside of that one blip that everybody keeps harping on, Chris Paul has been one of the most consistent, productive, and constructive playoff performers that this league has seen in a number of years. It's been either injury or other players not showing up. Devin Booker also didn't show up in that same series against Dallas. He was also playing abysmal. Why didn't he get any flack as well? Because he's a young star. Because he's Kobe. Because he's the next great thing. He's got all this offensive talent. Ooh-wee. Look at the turnaround. Look at the ability. Oh, he scored 70 points in the game. All of that is cool. Still a defensive liability. Still under his tutelage, without Chris Paul, they were under 500. In fact, they were almost under 400. No, they were under 400. Just about. Never had a season over 35 wins. Or excuse me, never had a season over 40 wins during his entire career before Chris Paul came to town. And that's with the new head coach coming in before Chris Paul got there, Monty Williams. All of that we talk about now, we forget what happened before Chris Paul got there. And it ain't because Devin Booker all of a sudden turned into a leader or matured. It's because Chris Paul changed that culture. If Chris Paul leaves, and now you got to rely on Devin Booker doing that, he's shown that he isn't able to. He's shown that he isn't able to. And I love Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is an on-the-court leader. Absolutely. But is he a locker room leader? It's a question. Look at the fact that when this whole situation on the Nets, he didn't try to curtail Kyrie. He didn't try to tell him what to do. He didn't try to have some level of structure as the best player on the team. What did he do instead? He just went and just played. Which is not a knock because he was productive, but at the same time, he didn't do anything to try to help make the situation better when he was at Brooklyn or since he's been on Brooklyn. He hasn't shown the qualities of a leader when he was on Brooklyn. Didn't show those qualities when he was on Golden State. It was Draymond Green who was the heart of that team. He was the one that was causing dissension. Say what you want. Draymond Green, for all my gripes, has been the guy that's kept teams together. He's the heart and soul. It wasn't Kevin Durant. It wasn't. In OKC, who was it? Russell Westbrook. Even though he wasn't the better talent on the floor, KD was the best player and the leader, quote unquote, in terms of I can affect the game. But in terms of everything else that involves being a leader, it wasn't Kevin Durant, it was Russell Westbrook. Setting the intensity, getting his players amped up. Say what you want about his play. That's the reality of the situation. They were a tandem. KD was the better player. Westbrook was the out-and-out leader. Now you go to this situation. If he goes to Phoenix, he's going to be put in the out-and-out leader role. Not just as, can I lead a championship team with my skills? Like it's been speculated since he's left Golden State. Can he lead a championship team with his skills alone? Sure. But it's never just skills alone that leads a team to a championship. Can you be the leader of a team as the leader of a team with all that encompasses, not splitting the difference? Again, I go back to LeBron. LeBron, when he went to Miami, was not the player that we see him as now. Well, actually, let me take that back. When he was on Miami, or when he was on Cleveland, rather, carried the team on his back. You saw the greatness. Even in the losses, his team was abysmal. Outside of Big Z, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and Larry Hughes, who was an all-star because he was playing alongside LeBron, not because of him as a player. LeBron showed up and showed out. Phenomenal. Had moment after moment after moment. Iconic game-winning shot against Orlando, scoring 25 straight against defending champs Detroit Pistons, the best defensive team of that 2000s era, with Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, all these people, carrying an old Shaq, carrying a Ben Wallace, old and washed up, to 65 wins, best record in the East, and I think best record in the NBA. It wasn't because of that team, it's because of him. The team was horrible. But he still showed up as the heart and soul. Everything, not just the play, but also the spirits of the team, the mentality of the team. All of that went through LeBron. When he went to Miami, Dwayne Wade was established as I'm the leader outright of this team. LeBron didn't want to impede on that. That's why he had an abysmal performance against the Mavericks. But once Dwayne Wade got him straight and said, you are now the ruler of this kingdom, do what you do and be the out and out leader in everything. Do it. Because with LeBron, it flip-flopped what we see with Kevin Durant now. KD is internal, not external. External is your play. Internal is what you bring to the team that are intangibles. Uplifting, being able to, everybody to not only respect who you are, but respect that you're not taking mess and that we need to tighten up because he's doing what he's supposed to do. LeBron, however, everybody had that respect with him, but he didn't want to step on toes with his play when he got to Miami. All the intangible stuff was there, telling his players what to do, setting a tone, setting a culture, setting a dynamic that everybody had to follow, making a lead or being a lead that everybody could come under and copy in terms of how to approach the game. He had all that in spades, but he didn't want his play to make it seem like he was overbearing. He said it himself. Now, once Dwayne Wade got to him and said, yo, let your play reflect your leadership, what happened? MVP, finals win, evolved into one of the scariest players the NBA's ever seen. One of the most dominant players the NBA had ever seen. In the LeBron that we know today. Kevin Durant is the opposite of what LeBron was experiencing. LeBron didn't want to step on toes in terms of externally and just playing up to the leadership that he was showing to the rest of the team. KD is playing up to the caliber of his talent, but isn't showing the leadership that is expected and necessary of somebody who's going to be considered the best player on the team. And the reason why that's a problem is because there's nobody else to take up the mantle of that intangible leader. That leader that's the heart, that'll get everybody right with a glance and his words and his demeanor. LeBron has that. Westbrook has that despite his play because of the fact that many teammates have said he's the best teammate I ever had. In the locker room, he's incredible. He does exactly what he's supposed to do as a leader. His play may not show it. Sure enough it don't. But as a leader, it's there. That's undeniable for Russell Westbrook. That's undeniable for Draymond Green. That's undeniable for LeBron. That's undeniable for a number of players in the NBA. Damian Lillard, another player, it's undeniable. But for Kevin Durant, there is some plausible deniability because he has not shown that without somebody else to take up that other half of leadership for an organization, can you take the helm? And if you go to Phoenix, then they're going to have to give up Chris Paul. What are you looking at now? A team void of that other half of leadership. Because the coach is the coach. They're going to do what they're supposed to do. But even Phil Jackson relied on Michael Jordan to communicate to the team in a way that he could not. Kevin Durant hasn't been put in a position where he's able to do that, or where he's shown he can do that. He hasn't been proven even when he's asked to do that. Again, OKC, it was Westbrook. Golden State, it was Draymond Green. Now on Brooklyn, nobody was there. Kevin Durant was the best player, but Kyrie was the one that was walking around as if I'm the guy that controls the tempo and the heartbeat, and I got my pulse, or even worse, or better, whatever word, or even better in his eyes, even better in Kyrie's eyes, I don't have my finger on the pulse. I am the pulse for this team. That's how Kyrie Irving moved. Kevin Durant just sat back and said, I want to play. That's not what you do as a leader. That's not how you have to be. That's not what you can afford to be as the out-and-out best player on the team. That's not. There's another aspect of leadership outside of let me just produce on the floor. When you can't show that you can bring that, that's a problem. And when nobody else on that team has that, what are you doing? I'll tell you what you're doing. Nothing. Just like we saw in Brooklyn these last 3 years. So does he want to go to Phoenix? Sure. Would it be great? Oh, yes. Will they win a championship? I don't think so. Because you got to rely on Devin Booker stepping up and being the heart and soul, potentially. Or you got to rely on Kevin Durant. Two players who I have not seen have the ability to show that they're capable of doing that. Why do I say Devin Booker couldn't do it? Because when he needed to step up against the Mavericks, what did he do? He folded and faltered. Chris Paul was the best player on that team. You understand that? Chris Paul was the best player on that team when Devin Booker was playing in the playoffs and in the regular season. Yes, Devin Booker had the better numbers. Oh, yeah, he was in MVP contention with, 25, 5-5, something along those lines, 27, 4-4, something along those lines. Not MVP status, but still in MVP contention because Suns had the best record in the NBA. If I remember correctly. One of the best, if not the best records in the NBA. MVP caliber player, but per everybody else. Star, absolutely. Superstar, you could, yeah, sure. MVP caliber, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he was still put in that conversation. But when it came time for him to produce in the playoffs, blown out by Dallas. A team that, again, everybody played over their abilities. They're not a great defensive team. They're not put together. They don't have the same coaching, same culture. I mean, okay, Jason Kidd is a good coach. Don't get me wrong. Do I think Monty Williams is better? Yes. Do I think the culture of Phoenix is better? Yes. Do I think the defense of Phoenix is better? Yes. Did Phoenix have every other advantage against Dallas? Yes, they did. And yet they still lost. Chris Paul had been the guy that had righted the ship. Big reason why that old team came together. Turned DeAndre Ayton into a player that's demanding max money. He did. He did. DeAndre Ayton's good. Great even, you can call him. Still needs to get better on defense. Still needs to be able to be more attacking and more physical Because he's got that 7-foot frame and he's pretty strong. Brother should not be getting bodied like I've seen him get bodied. He should be averaging 22 instead of 18. He should be averaging at least a block and a half a game. He should be one of the better defensive players in the NBA. Talked about consistently. We don't bring him up. Offensively, still got room to improve, but not bad. But again, in part, that growth is because of Chris Paul. Cameron Payne, under the tutelage and watching Chris Paul, you saw him flourish and thrive for the years that Chris Paul's been there. That whole organization has gotten better since Chris Paul has been on the team. Not taking anything away from Monty Williams. No, he's done his fair share of changing, which is incredible. Let's face the reality. On the court, Chris Paul's been the guy that's been driving the evolution of the Phoenix Suns. Not Devin Booker. But when Devin Booker was called upon to take the mantle and say, I'm here to do what I got to do, produce like I got to produce, perform like I got to perform, what happened? Folded like a piece of paper. Abysmal. Why am I using this one instance? Because again, now that Chris Paul's gone, he's going to be asked to do that. He's going to be asked to be that leader that Chris Paul is not, or that Chris Paul is, and that Kevin Durant is not. Kevin Durant on any team that he gets on can put them into a championship contending situation. Understandable. But that's if the team is set and good. He still elevates them. Don't get me wrong, still elevates them. Whatever team he goes on, he elevates them. But at the same time, Chris Paul, when he goes on an organization, it doesn't have to be that they already have pieces for them to say, okay, they're a contender for a title. He'll stay. Look at OKC when it seemed like they were going down and out and in full rebuild. All of a sudden, he got them to either play in or play off. Took that team far beyond anything that they thought was possible. Far beyond anything I thought was possible. I can't see Kevin Durant doing that same thing. I can't. I cannot. Kevin Durant on Phoenix is going to be incredible if it happens. Is it going to be a championship contending team? I'm going to say yes, but they won't win it. Because of the fact that without Chris Paul riding that ship, there's not going to be somebody not only on the court being a playmaker, a dominant playmaker, that will mitigate his mistakes. There's not going to be an off-the-court locker room leader that is going to be able to set the tone for the team. If you want to say it's Devin Booker, you're wrong because he's been in that position before and hasn't shown he could do it. Had about 3 or 4 years without anybody else there. Didn't do not one thing for the locker room, for the culture, nothing. It was just individually, he was phenomenal. You didn't see a change in anything on Phoenix in terms of the way they walked, the way the organization felt, the perspective of the players. You didn't see a change in any of that up until Chris Paul got there. When Chris Paul got there, now you get to see All of a sudden, we're walking different. We're talking different. We know how to win and the right way to win, how to carry ourselves, not get flustered and frustrated, how to adapt when situations aren't going our way. That's the type of stuff that you have to be able to ingrain in your players. And I don't think Devin Booker is there. Let me rephrase that. I know that Devin Booker isn't there. And I know that Kevin Durant, from what I saw on Brooklyn, is not there either. Let's not get caught up in the whole aspect of offensive firepower. Oh my gosh. Look at everything. Look at the tandem between the two can be phenomenal. Don't get caught up in that. What you need to get caught up in is everything else surrounding that. Because we already saw what happened without an out-and-out leader. Brooklyn is the main antithesis. Incredible offense. Didn't go nowhere. Pushing people out. No structure. No accountability. None of that. No teaching people how to win. None of that. Some players got it, some players don't. In terms of being able to be a locker room leader. And not every superstar has that. And that's fine. That's why you put somebody there that can be that. That's why you put somebody there that can be that locker room leader. Again, Steph Curry. Does he lead the locker room? Yes. Is he the heart and soul? No, it's Draymond Green. Steph Curry is the best player. Draymond Green is the heart and soul and gets everybody like they need to be. That's just the fact. That is a fact. LeBron, great player and gets everybody like they need to be. Russell Westbrook gets everybody like they need to be. Used to be a great player. Now has lost, I'm not going to say lost the greatness because he's still great, but his production is incredibly sketchy. It is in question. Can he improve? Sure. But still, the point stands. He, at one point in time, had both. And it was undeniable. Had the talent and the requisite leadership required of a superstar. If you don't have the requisite leadership, split, you get somebody, you bring in somebody, a veteran that can be that. Miami is perfect because regardless of where or regardless of who is on the roster, Udonis Haslam's going to be there till the end of time. He's the heart and soul of not only that team, but that entire city. It's a plus that they got Jimmy Butler as well to even further be the voice and the talent that drives this team. You just got two of them in Miami. But you've had one for about 30 years. However long Udonis Haslam's been on the Miami. But have been there since I was born. It make no sense. Don't even play. It's his presence. It's just there. Don't get no minutes. But him sitting on him sitting on the bench and just being there just affects the entire organization, which is phenomenal. And that's why Miami would be a great spot for Kevin Durant to go to. Regardless of how much they would have to pick up, or regardless of how much Miami would have to give up, Miami, it would still be a great place because now KD can just only be that talent and talent alone without having to set the tone for a team. You got Jimmy Butler for that. Again, best player, doesn't have to be the heart of the team if you have somebody else that's there. But if you don't have somebody else that's there and your best player then has to be the heart of that team, well, you're never going to win. Because at that point, the superstar has to be both. And if the superstar can't be both, and somebody else can't pick up the slack on that leadership end of the floor in terms of setting the tone for an organization and how this team is going to carry itself, they're not going to win. And that's the thing I keep seeing when we look at Phoenix. I don't know if you have to lose Chris Paul and keep Devin Booker, if I want to rely on KD to be the guy that keeps the culture, not just of winning, but of setting the tone for the entire organization. Because even if they lose pieces, they're still built to go far. But that team, like Miami, is built off of culture. That's their biggest asset. We fight, we're dogs because we're built in us. You know why? Because we have discipline and we have a structure. When you lose Chris Paul, even with Monty Williams, you potentially lose that within the locker room. Even with Monty Williams there, you still potentially lose that accountability and that intangible leadership that Chris Paul brings to the organization. Because Kevin Durant does not have that. Devin Booker does not have that. If you keep DeAndre Ayton, he doesn't have that. If you keep Cameron Payne, if he's going to be the point guard and the facilitator, he doesn't have that either. So now you're talent without direction. Potentially. Because as easily as you can build up a culture, you can tear it down. You can tear it down. Brooklyn had a culture of hope. All of a sudden, we made all the right moves. We set ourselves up to be able to succeed. Now can't nothing stop us. Within 2 years, dashed, gone. Everybody that was in there wanted out. So, as quickly as you can build it up, you can tear it down. Lakers were, again, franchise caliber, second to none. Incredible franchise. Kobe was there, 20 years, won 2 championships. Won 5 championships, 2 without Shaquille O'Neal. Had set a culture of excellence. However, quickly that was dashed. And they went from greatness to mediocrity. To mediocrity. Even with Kobe on the court. Granted, Kobe was old, injured, getting hurt, past his prime. Still doesn't negate the fact that he was still there. But even though he was there, it just fell apart. And that just happens sometimes. Cultures can still be dashed in a matter of moments. But it's all up to whether you, as a superstar player, are still going to be committed to your due diligence, which is being able to go out, set the precedent for everybody else to follow. Regardless of how the organization was during Kobe's later years, he still brought that. You didn't have to question that. You have to question it with Kevin Durant and with Kyrie Irving and with Devin Booker. You got to question it with all of this. So I would not want them to trade for Devin Booker, even though I know that's what's going to happen if it does happen. The Nets want, like Kevin Durant may want to play with Booker, but the Nets want Booker. So they may have to settle for the next best thing in Chris Paul on that team if they go through this trade. And whatever assets they can bring with them. But I distinctly believe it would be a mistake for Kevin Durant to go and play in Phoenix without Chris Paul there. Because if it's just Kevin Durant and Devin Booker having to be the heart and soul of that team, you're looking at a situation where the talent may be there, but the discipline can potentially run amok and run awry. Because neither has shown that they have the ability to get everybody to get up on not only their coattail in terms of I'll carry you to a championship on my talent. Neither of them has shown that they can get you as an organization to say, this is what the standard of our team is going to be. And it's non-negotiable that you follow it. That's what a leader needs to be. That's what a superstar has to be when there isn't somebody else on that team that is implementing that same level or that aspect of leadership. If you understand what I'm saying. Not just on the floor, but within setting the tone. Monty Williams, as the coach, can do that to the best of his ability. For any coach, that's their goal. But again, the moniker of the players is to take heed to that. And almost every time, it's not just everybody buying in. It's one person on the team buying in and everybody else following suit. It doesn't always have to be the star, but one person's doing that. And that person becomes the locker room leader. That person becomes the heart and soul of the team. Doesn't always have to be the superstar, but there's at least one that's there. And that's what makes a champion. But if you don't have that, and your superstar is not that, that's an incredibly major problem. But this whole situation has sent everybody into a frenzy. An outright frenzy. It's, I am shook with what may happen. I'm still refreshing my computer right now, trying to make sure that I don't miss nothing else. Because no move is going to be bigger than what may transpire with this move right now and Kevin Durant. So we're going to see what the world's about to happen. We're going to see what the world's about to happen. Frenzy just started a day ago. And I'm not clapping because I'm excited. I'm clapping because that's the sound my brain is doing. That's not applause. That's my brain actively just going ballistic and insane. And off its rocker because of the fact that we're in, again, code red. This whole situation is code red. This entire situation is code red. Everything is like this. It's how I feel. Oh gosh, I'm cool. Look, we gotta end it. We have to end this episode because I need a break, man. I need something to. Oh gosh, this is wild. This is wild. But this is what I live for. This is what I live for. My goodness, this has been another episode, action-packed, of the Welch Report. I've been your host, Jean-Luc Welch. We're gonna be back again. Best believe. Don't worry, I'm gonna cover Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk for their championship fight. I'm gonna cover Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. We're gonna get into some boxing. We're gonna keep up with the NBA and what's going on. We are gonna be up to date. Like the video, comment, subscribe, and we will see you all. Share with everybody you know. And we'll see you all in the next episode. We're out, baby.